soothed and relaxed. Beautiful. So welcome, Elle Ingalls. We have the one, the only, the notorious ESI, Elle Starrett Ingalls. Dun, 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 dun. So we just heard from, a beautiful artist who sang and provided healing music. And what I said right before we started recording was that Elle embodies this, this gentle peace music. And I'm so grateful to be here with Elle today, and that she was willing to grace us with her presence and share her wisdom. And because what she does so greatly is bridge that gentleness with like hard scientific facts. And so, Elle, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and share today, and take it away. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, Leela, for having me join on a very special day. This is a very special day for all of us who live in this country. And I'm grateful I have the ability to vote. And coming off of what Erin just did, if you were just experiencing that peacefulness, so many times we will do something for ourselves that is full of peace. So we might attend a church service or go to a yoga studio and experience doing a yoga practice, or we'll enter into something as beautiful as what Erin just did for us. And then we leave it, and pretty much within the next hour, we've kind of lost that feeling because we've gone back into the humdrum of life, the hamster wheel of life, if you will. And so sometimes, we think we're going to get this benefit and then we seem to lose it. So I want to share with you today kind of three things. There's going to be three parts to my talk. And I'll let you know how we're going through these together. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elle Ingalls. I'm the creator of the Pressure-Free Method. It's an on-the-go stress management method. And I built it so that you can use it anywhere, anytime. You can use it at work. You can use it with your family. You can use it when you're going on vacation. You can use it when you start to get in that hamster wheel and you feel like you just can't go anymore. So it's an on-the-go stress management method that you can employ to help up-level your performance. And when I use the word performance, I don't just mean being on a stage, although I am a violinist and a conductor, but it can be anything. The way you perform your day, the way you make breakfast, the way you drive. Very similar to how Leela started this entire day for us, teaching us the bowstring, which is how you hold your body for everything that you do. My whole life has changed because of that. So this is kind of a mental practice that goes with that body practice to keep you truly having a fulfilling life each and every moment. We want to be mindful. We want to be in mindful practices, but it can be really difficult. We can be pulled out of it. We can have strange emotions come on in. And so this method is to help you with all that. So before I start, just a quick story that I think you might be able to relate to. I remember when I got a phone call from my dad. It was March of 2005. And when the phone call came in, it was unusual for him to call during a weeknight. It was during the week instead of the weekend when we would usually talk. So that was kind of like the first clue something was up. I answered the phone and he goes, Pammy, my full name is Pamela. He goes, Pammy, he was like stumbling over his words. He goes, I think it's back. In other words, my mother's breast cancer was back. He goes, I think you need to come out here. So I live 1,000 miles away from where I grew up. He goes, I think you need to come out here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to come out there. So it's just a couple weeks before spring break with my kids. We have 3 sons. And in fact, I just want to point out when Erin was about to sing last song, we heard the baby. That to me was the most precious voice thing I heard, like amazing. So 3 sons, the youngest was 4 at the time. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to go on spring break. My husband couldn't come, he had to work. So just the four of us, we'll get on a plane, we'll go out there. So we go out there, and if you've ever seen one of those lazy boy chairs, you know, the ones that can recline back and stick your feet up. My dad had one, and really no one else sat in that chair but him if he was home, right? You might sneak in it when he wasn't there, but that was his chair. When we got back from the airport, I walked into the house and my mother was in that chair. I had never seen her in that chair ever. And the feet were up, and she was just like, obviously the cancer was back. So the first thing I noticed once I saw her in the recliner, I looked, my mom loved to be barefoot, and her toenails weren't cut, which my mom was super fastidious, like, oh my gosh, like she's not even taking care of herself. So I got a tub of water and I soaked her feet, and I massaged her feet, and I cut her toenails. I gave her like a little pedicure, right? Meanwhile, I'm trying to make a fun time for my kids. This is their vacation, their spring break. One of my sons and I saw a bear. Like, we were doing some cool things in New Hampshire. It was fun, but at the same time, there was this kind of dark cloud that we knew that this was not going to go well for my mom. So little vacation ends, come home very late on a Thursday. The next morning, I'm up early making breakfast. My husband's out the door to work. My eldest is already out playing, and I'm pretty tired. And I look at the two little boys, and I get down to their level and I go, boys, mommy's going upstairs for 15 minutes. Believe it or not, I had not even gone to the bathroom yet. I'd like done all this stuff and not done anything like go to the bathroom, right? So I look into their little faces and go, mommy's going upstairs for 15 minutes, okay? So I don't want to hear my name. I just need a little quiet time. So I start up the stairs. I'm on the landing. My eldest comes flying in the back door, crashing into the house. Mother, mother, like yelling my name. And I turn around on the stairs and I'm completely overcome. My hands are shaking. My legs are shaking. And I actually swear at my son. I said, I can't even believe that I can't even go to the bathroom in my own house like that. And he very calmly folded his arms at the bottom of the stairs and said, well, I guess we better call the GD police because our mother's out of control. And then I sunk to my knees. Like I was on my knees on the landing of the stairs, and tears were just pouring out of my eyes. And I was like, this is what happens. The pressures from all different sides hit us. It can be work pressures, it can be family pressures, it can be disease, it can be pain that we are living with and dealing with, like so many things, until we finally have like a breakdown, or we finally just fall to our knees. That was all pre-pressure free. In 2010, just 5 years later, I created this method, and it has changed our family's life profoundly. It has allowed us to solve problems so much easier, release arguments, really have a beautiful life, heal diseases. And so I want to dive in. And the first thing I'm going to do is give you a little ABCs of pressure free. Then I'm going to teach the method to you. And then I'm going to end with a really powerful starter tool for you. So first, the ABCs of pressure free. If you're taking notes, grab your pen and your paper if you're taking notes. And you can also, if you're here on Zoom, I don't have Facebook, so I can't see if you're putting it in Facebook, but if you come to zoomwithelle.com and you're on Zoom, feel free to type in here too when I ask a question here. So the first thing I want you to think about and to write is what are the top 3 things you experience when you're stressed out? I was literally shaking that day on the stairs, like my hands, and I didn't know, my son described this to me later, by the way, like I was out of control. My hands were shaking, my knees were shaking, my face was just like, does your face change? Do you get tight? Do you have furrows here? It's like, what is it that you experience when you're stressed? Do you feel it in your head? Do you get headaches? Do you clench your jaw? Maybe you have teeth issues because you're grinding at night. Or is it more centered here? Does your throat close up? Does your heart pound? What's going on here with your chest? Or is it in your gut? Are you carrying too much weight? Do you have trouble eating when you're stressed? Or do you overeat when you're stressed? Or do you have so much nausea, it's just driving you crazy? Your stomach is doing flip-flops on you. Do you have constipation? Do you have diarrhea? Like, what do you feel? So if you want to type in the chat, let's say I'm going to bring up the chat just so I can see if anybody wants to type in. Where's my chat? So yeah, and Ashley says my entire body feels very tense. Yeah, so tension, where do you hold that tension? She says it's her whole body. Can definitely be. You might find it in your feet even. Your toes might be curled up in your shoe with tension. So some people really talk about right back here. It's very tense all back in here. So where do you feel stress? Everyone is different. I've coached thousands of people. And every time I ask the question, someone says something new that I had never thought about. So we're all different. If you work with other human beings as an educator, as a coach, as a police officer, as a politician, like whatever you do in the world, you're interacting with other humans, the people that you live with, every one of them is going to experience stress a little bit differently. It's great for you to be able to understand what it looks like for them. Some people hide it very well. A lot of people who seem very calm on the outside are actually very stressed on the inside, but they don't want to worry you. A lot of men will do that actually in relationships. They don't want to worry you. Instead, they start to build heart disease. So that's why a lot of people have a lot of problems with their heart. It's like they're trying to be calm on the outside, but the inside isn't matching. So the A's of pressure free are these emotions. I want you to be on the lookout for them. I want you to be aware of feeling angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, and then ashamed. So any kind of shame. So when I say those 5 emotions, is there one that kind of pops up for you? Like, yeah, I get anxious, or no, I'm super annoyed. So for me, my big A is annoyed. I get annoyed at all kinds of little things. Right now, my desk is not as clean as I would like it to be. If I showed it to you, you would be appalled probably. so I look at this and I'm like, oh, here's my little crown, right? Okay, that needs to be put away. I got all this stuff. So what makes you feel annoyed or even angry? What makes you nervous or frustrated or anxious, like that, you know, what's keeping you up at night kind of thing? And then shame. So you could feel ashamed from something that happened 30 years ago. It might have been something you did, or it might have been something someone else did to you that still is a little reel that plays in your head. So if you can write down 3 things that you notice for any one of those emotions, like what makes you feel angry, anxious, annoyed, or ashamed. Today, there are no more saber-toothed tigers. Most of us are not under attack physically. So we're treating all sorts of little situations as if we are. Traffic on the road. One boy I was working with, he's a baseball player. It was how long his sister took a shower in the morning because they share a bathroom. Smells, sounds, all those kinds of things. So those A emotions, you want to start to be aware of when you're starting to feel one of those. Okay. By the way, some of our thoughts are not our friends. I'm going to say it again. I learned this many years ago from Ken Roberts. Some of our thoughts are not our friends. Probably about 80% of them, 20% of our thoughts are really good for us. But we will get sucked into those thoughts. So it's time to get a little bit aware. Those are your A's. The B's are these. They're the behaviors you exhibit when you've triggered the fight or flight stress response. So my expertise is on the fight or flight stress response, what stress actually does to the human body and how to get out of it. So these are the B behaviors. Maybe you can relate. Bitchy, bossy, bullying. You may feel broken down. You may feel burned out. You also might get kind of blamey. It's her fault that my business isn't a success. It's his fault I never got my degree. It's the kid's fault that I just can't seem to get anything done in the day. Like, well, finger points. We'll get real blamey. So those are the B's of the pressure-free method. So if you are brave enough and want to type in the chat an A or a B, that resonates with you. Like, I get anxious and then I get bitchy. And certainly my son was very afraid of me that day that I lost control. I lost emotional control, and I swore at my children, which was very unlike me. It was not something they were used to. And my eldest was actually protecting the little ones. So it's really interesting. Your behavior changes. That's when you will say things and do things later you regret, is when you've actually triggered this stress response and you're not entirely thinking clearly. So those are your B's. The C's are calm, confident, competent, composed, congruent, where the outside and inside are matching. You're not faking it. You're not an imposter, but this is all real. Today, as I was talking with Leela on the phone, actually, we talk every weekday morning. I passed a worker outside there. They're doing the siding on our condo unit. And he goes, Elle, you are always smiling. And Leela's like, yeah, she always is. Not always, but I choose to be on that side of things. I choose it because I didn't always live that way. I've been pretty happy most of my life, but like anyone, I've had my times when it wasn't so good. So competent, the inside and outsides are matching. The D's are doing something. You came here to this great day Leela put together, or you're watching this recording. You're doing it. Takes a little determination, like you have to block out your day or block out some time. And then it takes a little determination to use what I'm going to share with you today till it becomes a daily discipline. It's just natural for you to stop overreacting. And I'm going to call it out right now that so many people are overreacting in situations. One of my 17-year-old clients said to me, Mrs. Ingalls, you're just teaching people how to be grown up, but so many people that are grown-ups don't know how. We just laughed together like, yeah, I was there. I was acting more like I was in junior high. We're overreacting to things, and there are consequences to our overreactions. And the biggest consequence is illness, mental and physical, within our own body. So that's what I help people with. So you're determined, takes a little daily discipline, or becomes a daily discipline. The big D is deserving. I want you to know deep, deep in your heart that you are deserving of a truly beautiful and fulfilling life. I believe that for you. I believe that we're put on this planet to do something or to be something quite miraculous and to experience a lot of fulfillment, whether it's just looking at a tree, to really experience life like that. So go deep into the feeling that, yes, I deserve. Yes, I do. And watch that your head isn't going like this when you say it. Yes, I deserve a beautiful life. But no, you are in agreement that you do deserve a beautiful life. The E's are words that my clients have used to describe what pressure-free has done for them. They feel more energized. They feel exhilarated. That was one of my son's words. He feels exhilarated every morning. Empowered and enlightened. On this little session, this tiny little taste today with you, I want you to leave here really feeling empowered. That is the driving thing here. That you have an understanding of your body you might not have had before. So empowered is the word. The F's are fight, flight, freeze. So some people want to fight, be aggressive. Some people want to run away, flee. Some people freeze like a deer or a bunny. I was about this far from a deer this morning out in the woods. It was not afraid of me. Also, Leela, it was not afraid of your voice because I had you on speakerphone. It didn't run away from me. It was really cool, but deer will usually stop very still for a moment. So maybe you freeze for a moment. There's two more F's that I'd like to share. One is fib. You might make up a little white lie, like your boss may ask, is that project done yet? And you know you can get it done by the deadline, but you haven't even started it yet. And you'll say, oh yeah, it's almost done. It's just a little, because you don't want the truth to be known. You don't want to be, you're a little anxious that if they knew what was really going on with you, they might think you're incompetent. Does that make sense? And then the last is fawn. Fawn is when you will over flatter. you want attention because you're so in fight or flight that if you're not getting attention, it's scary for you. So you'll over flatter people. Oh, I love your dress. Like you'll get into the room and you'll need a lot of attention. So that's one that's coming from children who've had trauma will often fawn. They need to make sure they're going to be okay and accepted into the tribe. So they'll over flatter other people. So those are your Fs that you might have a chief F, you might be a fighter, you might flee, you might freeze, you might fawn or fib. So it's very situational most of the time. For me, there are times when I just fight. If it has anything to do with ageism, racism, any kind of ism, I tend to be a little bit of a fighter. So for example, I was going to join a group in my new city and they said, well, don't worry, we don't have very many old white men in our group. And I'm like, old white men, that's ageist, sexist, and old, ageist, white, racist, men, sexist. It's all three. So I haven't joined the group. Like I can't do it. So that my I have to be careful not to trigger when that's going down because I will fight. I guess in this case I did flee though. I didn't join the group. So G's and pressure free. Goal setting is one. I work a lot with my clients on setting really beautiful big goals with attainable steps to get there. And the first is really this feeling deserving, that you can have this fulfilling life, that you can do this method, that you can assume success for yourself. And then gentle and generous. I want you to be really gentle with yourself from this point moving forward because you're going to notice things. It's really easy to beat ourselves up and say, wow, I've been triggering over burnt toast for 30 years and I've been messing up my body because of that. So I want you to be gentle with yourself. When you notice triggers and see that they've been habits you've had for a really long time, or you may go into shame that you really destroyed a relationship because you did overreact when it was really not necessary, or whatever those things are. So be gentle. Okay, we're right here and we're going to move forward together. That's the blessing we have here. H. So this is going to dive into what Leela teaches. The first H is your heart space. So see if you can like get your heart area really wide with your shoulders and really, like Leela taught in that very opening session, getting, if you've done any work with her, having this whole area of your body, heart space very wide. And then hamstrings. So grab your butt. Leela taught me this. Pull it back so it's kind of mounting up towards your sacrum, up towards your back, and sit on your hamstrings. That's the next stage, hamstrings. So it's easy to get up and down, like super easy. And what you'll notice is that your butt is, the muscles of your butt are supposed to protect your lower back. But the moment you put yourself in that position, you're just so much more, again, I think what it's really about is embracing the full energy of you when you're in that position versus when you're slouched on your butt and you lose your lumbar curve. Your spine is a mess. So hamstrings. And then head to the horizon. So take a moment and just look out if you have windows. I learned this in Denver, so I was kind of like looking like that. So head to the horizon. I'm in Michigan. It's a little flatter here. Big sky country here. And gain a little perspective. So when your head is up and you're wide with your heart space and you're on your hamstrings, you're up so you can solve your problem. My engineering father-in-law once said to me, you can't solve a problem unless you are a technology above it. So we need to get our bodies up so that we're not in the muck trying to solve the problem. We need to be up and over it. And pressure free is really going to help you get up and over so you can solve your problems instead of have them last for years or decades. So let's see, those are the H's. That's as far as we go in this little alphabet thing. So now we're in part 2 of my speech, which is really teaching you this pressure-free method. 3 simple steps. So if you're taking notes, grab your pen. Note time now. Targets, triggers, tools. So targets, triggers, tools. We're going to start with targets. Targets are any aim you have for yourself, any goal, any dream, any desire, any vision, anything that you're having some sort of aim toward. So they tend to fall into three categories: health, performance, and relationships. So for example, maybe there's a predisposition genetically in your family toward heart disease. You could have an aim that I want to have a healthy heart my whole life. Or maybe you're carrying a little bit of stress fat and weight in the front of your body. And you're like, I really want to have a more healthy body, less of this fat here. So that's your aim. What do you want and what don't you want? Asking those two questions, that's going to help you move into what you do want and what you don't want. So those are your targets. The reason I have you write down a couple targets first is because that's your fuel. You'll hear this from a lot of coaches, that your why needs to be really deep. But your why could be as simple as this. It could just be, I wish to feel happier. That was the why for one of my clients who had been in chronic anxiety for 2 full years. I just want to feel happier. And that was just incredible. So it could be emotional. That's what your aim is here. Once you've identified a few targets, the next step 2 of the pressure-free method, are triggers. Triggers are, again, going back to those A words, anything that caused you to feel angry, anxious, annoyed, or ashamed. So angry, anxious, annoyed, ashamed. And of course, any fear. So afraid is the last one. So I want you to take a moment and just write down, if you already wrote 3 before, I want you to write 3 more things down. So write down 3 things that make you feel any of those emotions. For me, sounds. I'm a professional violinist, and if I hear certain sounds, they're major triggers for me. Smells are really major triggers for me. Clutter is a trigger. There are people in your life who might be triggers. So who makes you feel anxious? Who makes you feel afraid? You know, I've had people tell me that just seeing their boss walk down the hallway causes them to trigger fight or flight. Or a financial planner who just had to see the caller ID on his phone and instantly went into fight or flight because he knew it was 2010 and there was nothing he could do about that customer's fund. You know, so what is it that causes you to feel those emotions? Those are your triggers or stressors. Okay. And once you get clear on them, and by the way, if you write a whole bunch of them down, I want you to just give yourself some grace, because we just work on a couple at a time. We're just going to make a little progress one step at a time here, because I've seen people write pages and pages of triggers. Once you get it, I'm 10 years into using the method on myself. And I should caveat this, but I didn't think I needed this method. I thought I was coaching other people. I created the method. I'm fine. No, I had to dig deep and use the method on myself. And amazing things happened to me. Diseases I've had my whole adult life left me. Allergies, no more allergies. Eczema all over my hand, no more eczema. Stress acne on my cheeks, not always, but a good 80% of the days of my life as an adult, I would have just stress acne. You know, all those things changed when I started using the method on myself. But I had to get clear about the triggers, the targets, and then the triggers. So once you've got some triggers down, we're ready to dive into the solution to all of this. So first, as I delve into the solution, what does stress really do to us? You listed a few things at the beginning of this, but I want to share just a few more so that you really understand how profound this is. Because as I list out these things, I want you to understand that when you can prevent the release of the fight or flight stress response hormones, every cell of your body rejoices. Every cell of your body has a chance to be healthy. Every organ, every bit of your skin, your teeth, like everything can start to be healthy. So when we go into fight or flight, and everybody feels it a little differently, your amygdala, another A word, tells your heart rate to rise and your adrenal glands to release a cocktail of hormones. I call it a cocktail. Adrenaline is the chief one you've probably heard of, but it is a little cocktail of hormones that has a lot of different side effects. It's great if you have to attack someone because fat and glucose is going to come from your brain cells and your major extremities, like your arms and your legs and everything, and come to the middle of your body. So you have a massive amount of energy to fight or run away. But you're just sitting still, waiting for the meeting to start. Or waiting on Zoom for someone and you've got tech issues or whatever it is that you're doing. And so you're not fighting or running away. The stress fat builds in your abdomen and it lines your arteries. It also starts to build right here. You see the dowager's hump on some people, that fatty sac, it builds right there too. And that's to help your brain because your brain needs a lot of fat. If you were really going into fight or flight, your body thinks, well, I might not be able to get to food for a long time. So many things happen to the brain. We're wasting a ton of time because of fight or flight, because every time we trigger, we lose our cognitive abilities. We can't think and remember so well. If you have test anxiety, does anyone here have test anxiety? Like you used to get afraid when you had to take a test or your driver's test, you get a little nervous, any sort of test, social anxiety. Whenever we have this and we've triggered fight or flight, there's a little chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is a feel-good drug. You might have heard of it because it's talked about a lot with addiction. However, it's the neurotransmitter that, when it's released gently, keeps all of your cortex and your hippocampus working, thinking and remembering, decision-making, willpower, two places in the brain that are responsible for willpower. That shuts down in fight or flight. That's why you'll stress eat. That's why you'll feel like you have no filter on your mouth because you can't really think logically. So you'll start saying things that later you're like, oh, I can't believe I said that to her or him. So you'll say things, you'll do things, you'll eat compulsively, you'll feel like you're in a brain fog. And it's because these cells are so depowered. One biologist says it's like you're lining them up on the edge of a cliff, and a change in blood pressure is actually killing them. Well, your blood pressure goes way up when you go into fight or flight. So lots is happening here. You might feel it in your eyes with dry eye. You might feel your mouth go dry, your saliva duct shut down. That's because your whole digestive system is going to slow down or stop in fight or flight. So is your reproductive system. Like pretty much every one of your systems is not going to work as well as it should. Even your blood trying to get nutrients out to your skin is not going to happen. That's why our skin gets weird when we're stressed. I don't know if you caught that really sad, sad picture of Leanne Rimes showing her psoriasis because of the stress as the performing artist not being able to perform that has overtaken her body. But that's what can happen. Our body is going to show the effects of stress because it's an instant problem when you've triggered these stress hormones. So again, you might have more reasons now, more targets. Like, I don't want my face to turn red when I'm in a meeting or about to speak. I don't want to feel my heart pounding out of my chest. And I certainly don't want sweaty palms as a violinist. So those are some of my things, and you've got yours. Most people know about adrenaline. There's a second flood of hormones. These go out to fix the cells after the sense of the threat is gone. And that's so incredible that our body is so perfectly built. These are called glucocorticoids. So cortisol and glucose, sugar. So we just dumped a whole bunch of sugar into our bloodstream. If you have any issues with metabolic syndrome or diabetes, stress may be the reason why you're dumping so much sugar into your bloodstream. And cortisol is an interesting drug. Again, it's going out to fix these cells. However, it's got some side effects. It can make you feel anxious for no reason. For that person I was helping who had chronic anxiety, this was huge. they understood that if they could prevent the first flood of hormones, the second flood won't go out. So they're like, I'm not crazy. It's these things hitting my brain that make me feel this way. And I'm like, right. So your biology informs your psychology just as much as your psychology informs your biology. So we're going to work on that. You're going to work on understanding you so that you can prevent the release of these hormones and all this stuff doesn't happen. Also, I'm going to share immune. There's so many, I could talk for an hour just on these things. So we don't have that much time. So, couple things those glucocorticoids do that are so important right now. Your immune system can suppress up to 40% when this is going on. Also, your thyroid gets very confused and has to suppress. So those are major things. Excuse me. I got a tickle. I got choked up over that one. Those are major things that are happening to us when we release that second flood of hormones. Your body's ability to repair. So if you've had surgery or you've cut yourself or hurt yourself or pulled a muscle, your body can't repair as fast. I've helped athletes repair from injuries in less than half the time. It's been phenomenal. My throat is still choked up. All right, I need to relax it, open my chakra, do my own course on myself. Something choked me up. Okay, I'm settling in. So I can give you the solution. You need the solution. So what you want, what you don't want, those are your targets, what you're aiming for, your triggers, and now the solution. So I call this the 10-second solution to pressure-free and your tools. So from the moment you start to feel anxious or annoyed or any of those things, you have about 10 seconds before your amygdala can tell your heart rate to rise and your adrenal glands release. Well, 10 seconds is a pretty long time. 1001, 1002, 1003. It's pretty long. Plenty of time to smile. Plenty of time to just relax your abs. Get out of your head and into your body, as Leela says so beautifully. So what can you do in that 10-second interval to not overreact in this situation? What can you do to prevent the release of these hormones from going out? In other words, from your heart rate charging up too high. What can you say to your brain? What can you do with your body? My tools come in 3 types. Body tools, things you can use with your body. Lee just wrote, we need strong immune systems. Yes, we do. So what can you do with your body? What can you do with your mind? So mind tools. And then the third type of tool I have are life design tools. And I have enough time today to share 3 before I get to that final big starter tool for you. So I really want to start with a body tool for you. And this is a body tool. It's so simple to use. People are not going to know that you're using it, but you probably have a habit of holding your abs rather tightly. So I want us to just kind of play with our abs for a moment. If you take your hands and put them on your ab muscles and relax your ab muscles and then gently tense them, I want you to feel all the space there. There's a lot of space. I'm not showing you my belly. Leela can show you hers. Relax my abs. Tighten my abs. Do you feel all that space down there? Now I want you to put a hand on your back, your lower back where your lumbar is. And I want you to tense your muscles and then relax them. And just see if you notice how your back flattens just the tiniest little bit. And then when you relax your abs, it's easier to stand up straight. When you tense your abs, it's harder to sit up straight. So we've been conditioned to tighten our abs. We want to look skinny or whatever. Or you may have worked with a personal trainer said, keep your abs tight all day. I have clients who say, but my trainer says, keep my abs tight all day. You cannot take a full, beautiful belly breath if your abs are tight. You can gently tone your abs all day if you want to expel the air with a tightening, but you need to relax in order to breathe in. So take both hands again and put them on your belly. You can close your eyes if you like, and fully relax those ab muscles. The moment you do that, you actually send a signal to your brain that you are not under attack, that you are going to be fine. There's no reason to release stress hormones because you're feeling anxious in this moment. It's not that serious, as serious as your brain wants it to be. Is there anything, this is one, if this is the only thing you take away from here, is there anything worth causing your cells, if you're a male on the other side of the screen, to be messed up for up to 9 hours? For females, up to 24 hours. Is there anything worth triggering fight or flight over for your body and mind to be compromised for that long a time? I don't think so. And that's exactly what happens when this cocktail starts. Your body and mind are dealing with stress hormone release, and then the second flood of hormones for up to 9 hours or up to 24 hours. It's a huge gender difference, by the way, and explains a lot. And 9 hours and 24 hours is just too long. Both of them, that's just too long. That's why our bodies can't get healthy. All chronic disease is directly caused or exacerbated by the release of these stress hormones. Any kind of disease going through time is directly caused by this. You're releasing too much of these stress hormones. If we can help you stop that reduction, I have miracle stories from so many clients that didn't even know that stopping stress hormones was going to help a certain condition, because that's not why they came to me. They came to me because they wanted a promotion at work or to build their business or make more money in their business. And then all of a sudden they don't have a health issue anymore. Or, their relationship with their spouse is just fantastic now. Or their relationship with their kids is so much better. It's so fun. So it's like a lot of peripheral or processional activity happens when you have an aim that you're working on and you use this method, because it's going to affect everything. So you should let everybody you know that you live with and work with that you've learned this. I want you to teach it to them. Teach them the 9 hour, 24 hour thing. Teach them to relax their abs. Any part of this 10-second solution, because you will be different just from learning this. We know our buttons get pushed. These little pearls here. Our buttons get pushed, right? And we overreact. Well, when you don't overreact because someone has pushed a button that they've pushed many times, they're going to be confused. My husband clearly remembers a time we were watching a baseball game, and he said something to me expecting me to respond a certain way, and I didn't. I just smiled and sat there and yeah, I'll take care of it, And he was like, oh my goodness, our lives are going to be different now. It was really, really important moment for him when I didn't overreact like I used to that particular thing that he knew was a hot button for me. So you will be different just from this one little learning. So relax your abs. First tool I'm teaching you today. I taught you this smile already a little bit. So when you smile a little bit, you release a chemical called dopamine. That's that little neurotransmitter we need for the whole outer brain to work. That's very, very good. So have you ever heard of smile therapy? As a regular thing that therapists and psychologists teach. Back in 1977, I think it was 83 when I came across this research at the University of Michigan Med Library. And I can't find it anywhere now, but back in 1977, UC Berkeley did a study on smile therapy, where all of the people in the study were clinically depressed on medications. And they had to smile throughout their day for certain times in their day. By the end of the study, all of them were off their medications. Like, why don't we regularly have smile therapy? We could do it in school. We could like smile. We get to smile to our babies, right? We get to smile to each other. We don't smile very much in North America. That's an issue, right? So, how fascinating that smile therapy actually helped people get off some pretty serious medications that have a lot of side effects. Smiling is free. It doesn't make any money for anybody. So Smile is an easy pressure-free tool. You can do it in that 10-second window. A lot of the little triggers we have are rather pretty humorous. If I smile so I don't cry, right? Because some of my triggers were just silly, like a door sticking every day, right? Or a door not closing properly, something not working in the house, you know, a leaky toilet, any of those kinds of things would just always send me into fight or flight. And I had to start laughing. It's like, oh my goodness. I had no idea that one sound, when that branch rubs against the back wall of the bedroom, that causes me to go into fight or flight because I can hear it scratching on the wall, you know? So get clear about those triggers. That's going to really help you. And a little smile is going to help a lot. One more tool that I want to share. I shared this the other day too with a group of Leelas. It's called the double yellow line. When I shared this tool with a business owner, he said for the first time, after he used it, he said for the first time ever, he had a real dinner with his wife. He was present in the moment, listening to her, connected to her, really tasting the food. He has his own business. All he was thinking about during dinner was getting back to the computer, getting back to work, all the problems of the business. He was not present and in the moment. So this tool can reinforce anything you're doing mindfully. I call it double yellow lines when you're driving down the road, like you don't pass, right? I learned this from a book by Ben Lerner called Maximized Living, and I kind of expanded it into something bigger, but that's where I first learned the idea. So double yellow line, you can't pass. Put a double yellow line on all the little things you're doing in your day. You can make it as refined as you need to. You know, so like you're having a meal with someone. Don't be fake worrying about what's going to happen in the evening or beating yourself up about what you didn't do during the day. Like be right here with your partner, with your family, with your kids, whoever you're with, your dog, your cat, with the food. Like Zen eat. Love the food. Love the company. Love the, maybe you're by yourself and you're in a mountain cabin and you're just looking out at the beautiful trees. Like wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be in that moment. You're just eating right now. Okay, so now you're doing this. Now you're doing that. So double yellow line's a really easy one. So that's one of each 3 kinds of tools. In my course, I have over 40 tools. The last I want to give you is the pressure-free Ferris wheel. So it's a celebration Ferris wheel because I want you to super celebrate when you prevent the release of these hormones. And I want you to celebrate even if you still feel your face turn red or your heartbeat go. I want you to celebrate because you noticed a trigger. And the next time that trigger comes along, you'll probably stand a better chance of catching it in time. So go ahead and pretend there's a Ferris wheel in front of your face and just push up so you get the wheel turning. It's beautiful and colorful. It's a metaphor for the energy of your life. You just got your energy spinning beautifully, like all your electrons should be. So you just got spinning. Now do it a little slower and leave your arms up in the air. And now come down to the sides. I'm hitting things. It's my gong. Come down to your sides with your thumbs out toward the walls. And notice now your heart space is open. So you can do the Ferris wheel slowly or quickly. It's a big motion, so we'll interrupt your old habit of reaction, which could be centuries old if you inherited it from anybody. So you're interrupting a habit of reaction. And now you can choose your response to what you're going to do next. It's a very silly thing to do, so hopefully you'll smile. And you changed your posture. You go up and over, just like I talked about with getting the heart space open, you're up and over the problems, you can solve it. That's what we do when we do this. So you're up and over your problem and you can actually solve it. So that's the celebration Ferris wheel. And again, I want you to celebrate that you noticed a trigger and you didn't overreact to it. You got to respond to it. it will save you so much time and so much energy and so much unnecessary suffering. Because when we have dis-ease anywhere, mentally or physically, we suffer. And using this method can help you get out of so much suffering, both mentally and physically. So that is a little taste of the pressure-free method in my work. I think that Leela's going to come on here. For any of you who, I'll drop it in the chat here. I'm going to give you my actual email. You can go ahead and email me, and I will send you a nice little in the comments too later. That's my email, and I will send you a little follow-up. So yeah. Hi, Leela.
James is in. She's here, just joined us. She has her America.
Hi.
Hi, James.
Learning pressure free.
Pressure free. It's been fabulous.
Thank you.
I have so many people that I want to share your work with.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to pressure free this world.
Oh, hallelujah.
So, Elle, will you also share about your book?
Yes, yeah. So I put my first book up on Amazon, and it's called Pressure Free Parenting. I'm not a parenting coach. So it was interesting working on this book, but I really felt compelled with 2020, with everything going on. We have parented 3 boys, and actually it was really my boys really encouraged me to do this. And I tell some real raw stories in there about them, about us. So it's called Pressure Free Parenting, and I teach the pressure free method with a slant toward what it means for a family. And then I also give some cool tips, age-specific tips, and also tips to make sure you're meeting the needs of your family members. And so I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to frame that work. That's the second part of the book. So it's a super easy read. And if you purchase it, I have a link, and I created a whole video of it too, so you can actually like have it going while you're cleaning the dishes or anything like that. So Pressure Free Parenting is it. You can go right to Amazon.com and look up my name, Elle Ingalls, or Pressure Free Parenting. Pressure-free is how you'll find it. And yeah, I would love it, even if you don't buy it, if you could even just go and like check out a few pages. That kind of helps me move up the rankings so I can touch more people with this book. So yeah, I would really love it if you could just take a look at Pressure Free Parenting. It's a simple book. It's an easy book. I made it real, super user friendly. But I talk about some of the hard things in that book. Bullying. I talk about things from a real raw perspective. So yeah, thanks, Leela, for.
Thank you. And you are you just also wrote another book over the weekend, didn't you?
Right. Yeah, it's
so
like
I want to ask you. I want to pause just for a moment and tap in here just a little bit, and then ask for a few more things. What I want to say is, the guest who was supposed to be on at the top of the hour is having some challenges with the internet, and so it's okay if we go a couple minutes extra if you have a couple minutes out.
Cool. Yeah, I do. Then I need to walk to the farm, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Vegetable day.
Vegetable day. So I just want to point out, and I'm going to ask, because what I want to say is the reason I'm coming in, first of all, thank you, because I just got to hear you today, and I just got to hear you Sunday. So it's like a double whammy of pressure free, and that's so good. That's so good for me. It's so good for everybody who is here, who's been able to hear you multiple times. So if you are listening to Elle and you still have stress at some point, listen to Elle again.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while, years. If you've been living for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more, you may need to reprogram yourself. And it may take a little bit of time. It doesn't happen just in 1 hour. And so I just want to say this method has totally changed my life. It's allowed me the opportunity to hold space for actually even an event like this today, to allow the messages to come through of what is it that I really want to bring forward in the world, whether it be as a free event like this or in business or just the way I show up in my relationships, my love, my social life, my friends, whatever, my community. the gardening, right? Like, I don't know that I would be able to do something like this today. And everything that I've been doing, I just came off of a 4-day retreat
Right.
after being gone for 3 days in Denver for speaking at multiple day event. So
Right.
I tapped in and I think I've probably touched on almost 100 people in about 13 days. It's a lot for me.
Yeah.
And at the same time, because of your method, because of the tools that you teach, I can do this.
Right.
I'm fine. And we can do this together and rise together. And so I'm just really grateful for what you always bring and for the reminders. Every time you speak, I'm shifted. Every time.
Well, you bring up a great point. Like, you just gave a huge event, and there was only one day, and now here you are again doing a whole day-long event. And I used to produce concerts. My conductor and I would get ill after the productions. So we've worked and worked and worked and worked, and then we would fall ill. And one year we just looked at each other and go, we're not going to do this anymore. And it was like we called it out and said, you know, and we didn't know Pressure Free or any of that. But now when I look back, like, oh, I wish I had these tools, because I could have pinpointed exactly when I was going under the line, you know, and all the fakeness of looking calm on the outside and inside putting out a zillion fires with this production, you know. No, that's not healthy. Not healthy. So you're like living proof that you learn this method and you can do so much. And we're meant to do so much on this planet. We're not supposed to live in burnout. Not.
So that's what I want to say. You know, I would love for maybe anybody who's on the Zoom call right now, or even I'll check on the Facebook. But I'm just curious: do you want to do more and you can't? And like, what is it that you want to do? And maybe we can tap into some ideas for you today. But Elle, you know, just as I say that, if there's any other questions that come up, maybe ask and then share. Like, you just published a book, then wrote another book, and are also writing a novel. About to write another book for CEOs. If it's okay to give that away.
Yes.
And all these other things. So I just kind of want to give that perspective, because everybody here, you know, wants to add a lot of value to the world and wants to help the world in really beautiful ways. And
Right.
and you have this path to help the individual, the person. It's like all the strategies, all the tactics are one thing, but the way we move through the world, the way we show up in the world is really how we get all these things happening. So can you speak to that? And maybe
we have a great question right here. So Justine wrote, I would like to be able to hold more capacity for my teenagers. So yeah, let's dive into teens for a moment. I've worked with hundreds of teens and privately, which is really, really fun for me. And so one of the things that you can do right up front, it's really easy to worry about our teens, about our children at any age, adult children, tiny children, the moment you're pregnant. It's like the moment you conceive, you know, there's this ability to just worry ad nauseum. So the first thing I would do, like, especially if you have a teen who's really going through some stuff, is when you feel yourself worrying, to again, go right to your abs and relax. And in your mind, say to yourself that you are in full belief that your child can overcome whatever is going on. You're in full belief, you assume complete success for them, whatever that means for this particular child, whatever difficulties they're going through, that you have complete belief in them. When your body can be relaxed and open, they're going to feel they can connect better with you. The problem is when there's problems, we tense up, and tension creates a repelling energy. So get very relaxed and have full belief that you can solve these problems, and you can solve them together if they're willing and open, because they now kind of feel like you're willing and open to, okay, we're going to solve this together. So assume success, be in full belief for success for your child. And this goes to whether or not they're actually having an issue, or maybe they're just like, they're a flute player and they've got this really big audition. They're very nervous. So you can be the rock. Your energy, your energy, you're not the kid anymore. You're the grown-up. So be a rock for them energetically so they can kind of feed off of that. Because when we get keyed up, I see parents I've been a parent of boys in travel hockey and the whole deal, like everything, music, hockey, etc. They own businesses now. So easy to worry about a zillion things. So no, it's like, no, full belief. Have a great time. I wave to them as they drive off in the van with 4 of other kids to Detroit. They actually lost the van that night. They found it again, but like full belief that everything will be okay. So, and you have a mixed family. Yeah. So mixed family. Let's go with this idea of, it doesn't even matter like how big or how small the family is. Every person is an individual different energy within your family. Like you don't get to choose your family. I'm so different than my sisters. Every one of my sons, they're all very different. So a lot of times we don't honor that other energy. You've got the one who's always on time and the one who's always late. You've got the one who's a super high achiever and the one who just wants to get into drugs. You've got the one, like it's all mixed up, right? So you as the parent, like take a step back and really get into you. Don't let your buttons be pushed. Don't let them pull you in many directions. You be solid and take a moment to honor each one of the best parts of them, the creative part of them. What's the best part? And energetically, see if you can just be so supportive of all the wonderful parts of them. Because teenagehood is weird. The body is weird. All this stuff is happening. Hair's growing under the arms. Like it's just weird. So when you can just be so really supportive of like what is going on and of the good things, and it doesn't have to be verbal, it can all be with your energy, they're going to start to feel that. So I hope that's a little bit helpful for this short little answer here. Kelly says, I want more safety around authenticity and vulnerability. As a sensitive soul, I go into freeze mode fairly easily. Oh, yes. Okay, so authenticity and vulnerability. It's very interesting how the freeze mode shuts us down, so we can't express and we can't be who we are. Oh, and I see somebody's coming in, so someone's going to be talking here in a minute. And Justine says, thank you. Yeah, Kelly emailed me so we can have a chat, but that idea that you can really honor and remember that when you're starting to go into freeze mode, that means you're releasing fight or flight stress hormones, when you're starting to go into that freeze mode. So give yourself the grace that you are more important than whatever it is that's about to trigger you here. You are more important. Your cells are more important than overreacting and releasing the stress hormones in this moment. So you can pause without freezing. Just stop for a moment, smile a little if you can, no matter what's going on. Choose you for a moment. I want you to be like really selfish for a moment. Choose you for a moment, okay? And see if you can start to build on that idea that it's okay. It's very interesting to watch the words that we use to describe ourselves sometimes. I like to take apart vulnerability, actually. I also like to take apart narcissism and empathic. I like to take those apart. I do that with my clients. And sometimes I show them things that they hadn't even thought about before. It's kind of fun. So yeah, choose you for a moment. Because when you are beautiful and your energy is beautiful, there's no limit to it. The God created energy that's pouring through you, there's no limit to it. There's no limit to love. It is not a pie. We're not carving it up. It's not a pie. Neither is energy. It's completely renewing and refilling when you're on task. If your vulnerability is tied up in something that is not a part of the energy of flow, that's when you'll get stuck. So it's very complex. And the only way I can really help is like to see you and feel you and like see what's going down with you. Where is the tension? You know, what's really happening? But see if you can pause without like releasing the hormones. See if you can just pause without releasing the hormones. See if you can keep those abs soft. See if you can keep breathing. And hopefully that will help a little bit. So yeah, is your next person on ready? Is ready?
We have someone actually, so the 2 p.m. couldn't make it, but the 2:30 is going to come on at 2:20. So we've got about 8 minutes.
Okay.
So I just want to, a couple things, reach out and ask and say, anybody else has some questions? I'm going to check the Facebook real quick just to make sure there aren't any questions for you. I love this, you know, relax your abs, just as a reminder, breathe in, breathe out, relax your abs.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure that you're.
I was coaching a golfer and I was on the golf course with her. Now you can't, as a coach, you cannot talk to golfers. Like you can't talk to them. So I was out there and her first couple holes were beautiful. Everything was going great. And then it started to go sideways a little. And I noticed both her parents starting to get tense. And then I noticed my body was getting super tense. I'm like, the last thing that girl needs out there is for me to be tense or anyone else to be tense. So I went to relax my abs. It took me like 3 or 4 breaths to relax to the state I really needed to be to support her. If you have children and they perform on stage as performing arts or in sports or whatever, and you're in the audience tense, on the bleachers tense, they feel that. They're very connected to you. Sit there and be completely open and completely trusting that whatever goes down out there, win or lose, is absolutely fine. Because there's so much pressure on these kids today. We've got 1/3 of our highest achieving students at the Ivy League colleges all on drugs. Something's wrong here. One of my sons is an Ivy League student. I get all kinds of insights because he's a psych major too. So deep belly breathing, definitely. I do a whole little cool thing on breathing that I don't have enough time here to do with you, but definitely you want to get breath really down into your abs. And if your abs are tight, you can't do it. So I remember once Leela was teaching breathing, and we do joint retreats together. And she said, breathe so that you can feel air going over your nose hairs. I loved that so much because who talks about nose hairs? I thought it was beautiful.
Nose hairs.
Okay.
Nose hairs, friends.
Cool.
Got it. I was going to say, this is funny because this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. So James is here and we're, you know, listening, and she heard, you know, basically the idea is create peace through nose hairs, but also you can create peace kind of through humor too, right?
Yes.
Like humor. And she heard nose hairs, and what'd you go? You said,
I go, oh no, I don't have nose hairs. I have like so if you want to know how to get rid of your nose hairs, I can help you.
Oh, yeah, that is really funny.
No nose hairs, girl. No, I look every day.
And I'm the girl who's like, keep them all. Breathe up.
No.
Breathe over them. Feel
I can't
the breath.
see my nose hairs, so I think I'm okay. But
so yes.
But
so
see, when you spend so much time in front of the mirror to do stuff like this,
oh yes,
as I've learned from Leela, that you tend to start looking at yourself. So you will realize, like, I could probably count how many nose hairs I have in each side.
That's so fun.
Wow.
So this is great.
Going now.
Okay. So fun. I mean, so fun. It's like, you know, we part of, you know, even you and I, Al, it's like we generate like just giggles and humor and great energy and fun together, and anything like as simple as like nose hairs can make us crack up, or some funny joke that's like, you know, just really makes it like lights us up. This is part of why we're here together, you know, why we're here learning how to live in a way that's pressure free together. So we can giggle over things like nose hair. So we can have fun like this on a day where maybe not everybody is.
Yes. And I'll tell you, in a pressure-free world, there's no such thing as election anxiety. There's no such thing as that. It didn't even exist when I was a girl. Like, no one got anxious about the election. My parents did not know how each other voted. It was a private thing. You went, you voted, you came home, you watched the TV to find out who won, and then the next day you went to work. Nobody had enough time to even be nervous about it, to be honest, because people had to work. And if that's something like sometimes you and I will talk and I'm like, people need to get to work and people need to grow up. You know, parents need to grow up. And it's a hard lesson, but I think sometimes we're here to teach those lessons. Like, it's time. It's time to step up. I love how you put it. It's time to put on your big girl pants or your big boy
Put
pants.
on your big girl pants. I like to say, I was like, we're all grown-ups here.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a delight.
Thank you so much. I really, really believe in the work that you're doing in the world. And I really believe that everybody should tap in. And I don't say should very often, but I really do think everybody should tap into your information, tap into your content, tap into your teachings, tap into the science, whatever, you know, angle feels good, and play with what she's teaching, because it will change your life. Like if you have any sort of stress, adrenaline, anything going on that, you know, is getting in the way of where you want to go in life or getting in the way of creating peace in the world, it's so valuable. And so thank you for being willing to offer this today. It means so much. Yeah.
Peace, everybody.
Peace be with you, sweet pea.
Bye.
All right. We're going to bring out Brittany. Brittany, I'm so happy to have you. I'm going to push a couple tech buttons and then bring you up. So you can chat if you want just for a minute.